Okay, I'm on. Are people seeing my screen?
Yes.
You should be looking at dynamics. Okay?
I see it.
All right, great. I'm going to assume everybody else can. If there's any issues, please let us know. I will have to drop before the Ask the Experts part from the call. I have a previous engagement, but David is going to take any questions and post my email address if anybody needs to get a hold of me directly. Happy to answer any questions directly and follow up with you after this. It'll probably be tomorrow morning before I can get you answers to questions. So landed cost is all about being able to receive your items in at their fully costed level. So not only the amount that you're paying your vendor, but anything you're paying also for freight or duties or anything regarding imports. And the way it works, under the inventory cards, you have a landed cost group and a landed cost ID. The landed cost IDs are then defined so that in this case here, I've got one in this lower left corner. The freight US is my freight charges in the US, and the vendor that's providing that freight is called Timely Shipping. And if you're using multi-currency, it supports that. And then you have some cost calculations. In this case, it's set out to be, it's a flat $200 for the shipment. And you can also use the percentage of extended cost or a flat amount per unit as opposed to a flat amount for the entire PO, shall we say. And then it'll take this amount and add it when you do receiving and on the PO so that it'll increase the cost of your item that you're receiving into inventory's book value from the vendor amount that you're paying for the actual unit you're purchasing plus the landed cost group totals. So what we've done is define one landed cost down below here with its posting accounts, and notice that there is also a variance amount in case you have a variance regarding landed cost. And then up top, I've grouped freight US and another ID called insurance that is with a different vendor, associated insurance, okay? And those two are put together in a group called my primary US. And that landed cost as a group would then be assigned. And the way it works in your item cards in the quantities maintenance screen for a particular site or any site, even if it's multiple sites. So in this case here in the warehouse, I've got a primary vendor, electronic services, and I have added the landed cost group. So when I buy at this site, it will add this landed cost, okay, which consists of these two costs in particular. Now this might be 30 or 40 actual costs in the group. So all it does is it rolls up the total of what it should be and then divide it out to the number of units that you're purchasing. So when you've got it set up in the site, I then created a PO down here, save us a little time. And for this item here, okay, at the warehouse and for advanced is who I'm buying from, okay? So when I look at the details of the PO for the item, I see that the landed cost is right here in this grouping. So when I do receiving, it'll know to pull this landed cost in for this item, and a different landed cost for a different item may also be involved in the whole cap of what's going on, just so you understand, okay? So when I have the PO entry, everything's cool there. I'm gonna go ahead and close this now, and I'm gonna go ahead and do a receipt. So in receiving transaction entry for my PO to advanced, I'm just gonna put in a shipment receipt, and I'll just put in a phony number, and the vendor is advanced. And I have project accounting loaded here, so I'm going to ignore that. And for PO number receipt, I'm just going to do my auto receive up here, and I'm going to find my PO 2090, which is what I did, and I'm going to go ahead and receive that one item, and I'm going to receive all 20 units. Click the button. There we go. So you see down here in the receipt that the functional landed cost total is $300, and mine happened to be the freight US, which is a flat amount of $200, and the other one was the insurance. So when I click on this, I can see the detail of what two landed costs are coming in, what their amounts are, and the posting accounts that are relative to that particular accrual that will occur. Okay. So with that, I could do my receipt. So go ahead and post this, and then that activity goes out there against the 2090 PO, and that receipt will be available then. So what happens is in the posting, you'll see, I'm going to cancel the variance information. So in my receipt, I can see that, hello. Here's my cost for the up top for the actual item, which was $41.91 each. Hello. There we go. So there's the $41.91 to the warehouse, plus the two landed costs of $300, totaling $839. Okay, with the landed cost $1139 total. So we're booking the entire $1139. So when I look at receipts in the original, and here's the posting accounts, just so you see the GL totals as they go in. You see my three vendors and the three amounts that are going out to those vendors. And we're going to match those in just a moment. But in the receipts window, when we do the inquiry and inventory receipts, and we put in our item at the warehouse, and I receive my 20 units, there's some rounding involved, so the usual 19 and 1, you can see that the landed cost is now not $41.98 per unit, but it's $56. And what that's doing is breaking out my landed cost of $300 across all 20 units, and then booking its actual value then at the landed cost fully applied. Okay. So then in the transactions, then when you do an enter match invoices, I have it set up that these particular items are also going to be matched. So when I do a receipt of the invoice and I put it in for advanced, and project costs go away. Okay, I can then do the receipt for the item, and what I want to do is see the LC box here. If I mark this as LC, I can receive and match against the landed cost for timely and or for the other vendor for the insurance associated. So when I'm coming over here and putting it in, I ignore the PO number here, but I can come over to the item, or I can go into the auto invoice mode. But in the items here, I'm going to say, okay, what item am I going to receive against? And I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to receive against my freight US. Okay, there's the $200 that comes in, and the $200 gets booked, and that'll go to that vendor. I can then initially come down, and I can match it over here in this column here, and say, oh, what am I matching it against? Which receipt? And oh, I matched them all, darn it. Yeah, in this would be the list of the actual items that I would match and see the POs that I can match that $200 against. I missed a step before. But then you'd match that to that PO. That PO would be listed there, and then I could come down and do associated as well. And then that's how the landed costs get in, and then the distributions are the normal postings. This will then create a match, an invoice for timely and associated. And if I'm receiving the actual items themselves where I'm not checking the LC box, then you'd be able to actually do the full receipt of everything should you have all the bills at that one time. It can be multiple receipts. It can be one receipt. However, whenever you get the bills in, you just match the landed cost. You do not actually have to match the landed cost. They can be put in separately just as normal bills. I like to match them personally. So that's why I check the box when I set it up to actually match the costs. So I got a few minutes for questions before I have to go. So if anybody has any, please ask away. Happy to answer anything I can right now.
Mike, I had a question. On the landed cost, you had a price that you applied to it. Can you get more granular than that if you need to? So if that price includes transportation and duties and customs and other things.
Okay. Well, that would be the purpose of the group. Yep. So within the group, so this is a bunch of different costs within the group. So the question is, what are the costs that I can add? Well, if I'm an importer, this could be duty, this could be the ground transportation or freight from the port to my warehouse. This could be the insurance on the water, any fees that are insurance, anything else that's involved could be listed here as additional costs IDs. So in this case here, I've only done freight and insurance, but I can have unlimited number of IDs that I group together to say, well, this combination of costs is what occurs when I use the primary US version, if you will. Now, there is ability to substitute. So if the question is, hey, what if timely freight isn't the one I use yellow freight? Well, if yellow freight has a cost ID set up for it down here, okay, you can actually substitute. Or if the price is different, you can change the price when you're doing receiving. And let's just say maybe Timely is doing $250 for this one. It will then create a landed cost variance of $50 that you can then either do a cost adjustment and apply it across the board, or you can handle it just like a PPV. So that's where the variance might come into play. So it's kind of taking landed costs at the setup and applied level at an applied amount, or let's call it a standard cost of landed cost. And then if you're receiving it at a different level, then yes, it can create a purchase price variance for landed costs during the receiving process.
Makes sense.
Okay. So I would just create a new landed cost ID here called duty or drayage or whatever's involved. This is very popular with the importers because then they get to apply the landed cost now when they do the receiving, and then they can wait to 30, 45, sometimes 90 days before they actually get the invoices from their service providers for insurance and drayage and duty and all that from their brokers or freight forwarders. Those documents tend to lag.
And if those, actually that brings up another question. So if this was, you had, if Timely showed up and sent an invoice for a different amount because of whatever reason, and it came in 9 days later, how do you account for that? Is it just a variance at the time?
Well, it's still a variance, right? And it'll post accordingly. If this is why I like to match them, so you can match what the amount was that you brought it in at, let's say $200, and it comes in when the bill's at $250, and then you handle the variance. Or if that variance is incorrect in the $250, you got to call your freight guy, let's say, and argue over pricing, just like anything else that is a mismatch, right? And then next time, if that's the new cost, you can increase the cost in your landed cost ID so that next time it applies $250. You don't always have a $50 variance. So you can update the 200 to 250.
Thanks, Mike, for your time.
You bet.